Hey guys, it's James here again, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to draw a two side-by-side comparison between two rifles. Now, last time I did this was with the 100 and the HW110 that you would have seen maybe several years ago. Today I think this is quite an important one to do between the original Impact and the latest version, the M3. Obviously when this came out in 2015, this was one of the first ones made, and then obviously this one in 2021. There's been a lot that's gone on, a lot of subtle changes, some very obvious, some not so much. So we're going to move in, have a look at the specs, how they differ, and hopefully explain and show you why, if you've got like a Mark 1, you could justify or not justify moving to an M3. That's the plan. So anyway, let's crack on, have a look at the spec, see how things are different. Now moving forward, one noticeable change obviously will be the safety catch. They've inverted what was safe, what was fire. With the original Mark 1, when the safety was pointing forward, the gun was safe. You then push it down to put it into fire, pretty straightforward. With this one, it's safe is up, so it's blocking the barrel as such, and then when you push it the other way, so when the safety is in line with the barrel, it's in fire. Now I quite like that. I think it's mostly down to do with the change in the internals. That's why they've had to change it around, but that's something worth noticing. Now, the cocking lever. Now this is a big change. The shape, feel, how it functions, and whether it's ambidextrous has changed. So with the original Mark 1, you just had this old school lever, wasn't assisted, just cocks itself like that. However, with the new one, which I quite like, is it's spring assist, so it will come out. And the throw, if I bring this one back to cock, is a lot shorter, so you can fire it without having to change your position. Now that's something I do quite like. Now the fit and feel of this as well is a lot better. It's a lot easier to grip it and to assist it forward. And as I say, the key one here is it is very easily changed to a left-handed gun. There's a couple of little grub screws and pins, swap it across, job done. So the M3, ambidextrous, Mark 1, not so much. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about are the gauges. Now you'll notice on my M1 we have a gauge for the bottle pressure and we have a gauge for the reg pressure. Now on the M3 we have the bottle pressure, we have the reg pressure. We also have another one on the other side for the second regulator, but we'll go into that in a second. Now they've updated which regs they use. Now the wiki regs are supposed to be a lot better, a lot more accurate, and a lot more kind of truer to what's actually going on in the gun. People were upgrading to these before the M3 was a thing, so it kind of makes a little bit of sense. And as I said there, this is the key one. The internals, these look like the same gun, but actually the internals are very different. This gun here is fitted, so the M3 we're talking about now is fitted with two regulators. So one that steps down the pressure from the bottle to a much more manageable pressure for the second regulator to then give you a much more consistent shot of air coming through the system. Now obviously the more consistent your air, the more consistent your pellet velocity, the more consistent your pellet velocity, the better accuracy you have. This gun in my opinion is far more accurate than my original Mark 1. And this is an incredibly accurate gun, so it's kind of saying something. So let's move on to a couple of the other features that maybe aren't so interchangeable. Now one thing that may not be so obvious off the face of it, but is something to bear in mind, obviously going from the original to the M3, the bottles. Now they are different. The bottle that features on here is not compatible with the previous generations. Now the Mark 1, Mark 2 and the Crowns, or at least the Crowns in their current form, you could swap bottles between them. Due to the way this is valved down here, you can't swap this onto an earlier version or vice versa unless you get the kit to change the valve. Now I understand that is available, I just haven't looked into it fully because I have no need at the moment. So that's a big difference there, something just to bear in mind. So if we look at the form of the gun, you'll notice they do, as I say, they look very similar. We've got rails in exactly the same places. An impact is an impact. However, as I said earlier, it's the subtle things that may not be so obvious that set these guns apart. Now something that's worth mentioning, this was a flat rail. On the Mark 1 it was just a straight up Picatinny rail. However, when this gun started allowing people to shoot at sort of 200, 300, 400 yards, we had to adjust a lot more on the scopes. So FX, again, clever thinking, have built 20 MOA of adjustment into the M3. So if you're thinking of going slightly further range or you don't want to be so reliant on your clicks, just bear in mind the M3 is already kind of setting you up for that longer shooting with its included 20 MOA. Now you notice the barrels are a little bit different. Now, this is a bit of a thing. Again, this was an aftermarket one that I put on. However, this was the original barrel kit that you would have got with the Mark 1. And as you'll see, it's telescopic. And at the time, that was the big thing. You could have it loud and short, quiet or long. It was what it was. It was a good idea at the time. However, like with a lot of things in life, things have developed. So we'll move this one out of the way and take a look at these two that we've got in front of here. Now obviously, if we ignore the shrouds, they both still have a 500mm barrel in this current configuration. Obviously you can get different length sizes, etc, as you need. However, it's now fixed on the M3 with an included moderator, resulting in a very, very quiet gun that I would say is comparable to my big aftermarket Hug-It one here, but you get it straight out the box. And that really is the main key features and the key differences. Price points, this is still floating around £1,800. I think that's pretty much what I paid for here. So they are priced differently. Now as a Mark 1 owner shooting a Mark 3, the difference in the accuracy with this is notable. It's been quite kind of interesting to see, and it's the first time I've actually debated trading this one out for a newer rifle. As I say, I've done a full review on the M3. It's been posted up quite recently, so if you do want to have a look at my full thoughts on this rifle, feel free to check it out. Obviously, there will be other things that I've missed, and I'm sure people will add in the comments, but to me those are the key differences that kind of set the Mark 1 away from the Mark 3, and why this one, you can see how they've all evolved and changed, and it's good to see that evolution in the products. So anyway, any questions, any comments, feel free to put them in the box below. And I will hopefully be back with more videos coming very soon. Got a few things planned. Hopefully make a bit more use of the outdoors now that we can actually get out and do things. So anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.